A lot of authors ask themselves the question, who's my niche? The answer is simple, it's under your nose. I rarely have seen someone putting money in the bank because of royalties. You're investing even more than the royalties to get that sales, to get promoted, to get discoverable, on all those platforms. So basically, it's a net zero game. If that book is positioning you to get speaking engagements, a consultancy deal, or a coaching deal, a book now to transform lives, but also helps you to monetize your services. If you're the hero, you're dead. You should be the guide. Every content should start with the audience.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, let's get it started. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm your host today, and in our studio, we have H.J. Chammas. How are you today, sir?
Hey, Rick, good morning. Really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here as well. Cool, man. Let's get into the show. But before we do, we would be honored. We appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, without further ado, as we always do, let's get into it. So, sir, would you please give us a little of your background, who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do?
Sure. So basically, I'm AJ Chammas. I'm the guy who helps coaches, consultants, experts, entrepreneurs to turn what they know, their expertise, to turn that into books that build them credibility, authority, visibility, and business growth. As simple as that.
So what's your background? How did you get into this? I mean, this is I talk to book publishers, book writers, but your story, the way that you present it sounds a little bit different than what I'm used to. So I'm assuming that there's a little bit of background, there's a little bit of history about how you got into this.
It's a bit of an irony in a way, my background story. So basically, I started as an author, but as a failed author. I failed big time.
Author.
Yeah. So when I started back in 2017 as an author, at that time, I had the dream that I was the next Robert Kiyosaki in the world, because I made it through real estate. I became financially independent with a poor background from a poor family and just, found my way out of that. And I approached one of the biggest publishing companies in the world. I wanted the penguin logo on my book. And they told me, who the hell are you to go through traditional publishing route, like you're no one. You're not like have 1 million follower or 100,000, whatever, and stuff like that. You're just a person. And this was a slap on the face. But they told me, we loved your book, we loved your content, and we want to publish that. But we have a sister company that still has the penguin logo, but you have to invest in that. And I invested 65 that failed. Now I see your look. You might think this guy is stupid, naive, whatever. Yes, I was all of that. I am pleased with it.
I actually want to understand what your definition of failure is. You know what I'm saying? Because some people put their book out there and they just want to change the world. They just want to impact lives. But it sounds like you may have had a different definition.
I wanted to impact lives, but my failure was because nobody discovered my book, number one. Nobody knew it existed. And third is, it was my own definition of success was wrong. I was more on the ego side. I wanted to sell hundreds of thousands of copies and millions of copies and get those royalties and impact the world. So my definition of success was wrong. And this is when I went into the rabbit hole to study the whole publishing industry and to study those authors who made it not from the traditional publishing route, who made it through their book by self-publishing and making an impact, leaving their footprint in the world. And when I studied that, it came to me that it's not about royalties, it's not about selling books, because even if you sell one copy, but that copy changes lives, transforms someone's lives, I would say that's a success.
Okay. So tell me something. So, I really, really need to understand this. So you invested $65,000. Okay. That's cold cash. You earned that money. That was money that was in your bank account that you no longer have access to. What did this publishing company do for you for that money? Because our audience, these, do have book publishers, or book writers, authors, people with books in them, in the audience. And, we've got to be able to understand, what we're getting into before we even go down that route. So what did you get for $65,000?
Yes. So basically, when I started out, things were not as we have them today. So nowadays, the KDP and Amazon are much more available for everyone. Everybody has got educated on them because of so many channels and stuff. When I first
Yeah.
started, I was lost. I had this manuscript. I don't know how to get it out. Even if I tried to learn how to get it out myself, it looked so complicated. And because of that complication, I just wanted someone to do it for me.
Yeah.
And they promised me that we're going to publish the manuscript and we're going to promote it and we're going to put it in bookstores and we're going to do the unthinkable in a way. And
Yeah.
all of that happened is basically they took my manuscript. They didn't challenge the content even, which now I currently do with my authors. I challenge the content and we make sure that it's going to make impact. We studied the
Yeah.
target readers. They didn't do any of that. They just published it as it is, did some basic editing just to it's grammatically right and this kind of stuff. And they just published it on Amazon, on a couple of book retailers, and then they start to suck me into some services because the 65K was not in one payment. So I pay like a couple of like 15K or 20K for the publishing. Then they told me now to get visibility, you need to get this service and that service. So I started to pay 3-5K after each other, and each one resulted in nothing. Checking my royalties, checking my sales, basically maybe my grandpa and my mom and my brothers. So maybe those are the people who bought my book, a couple of my friends, and that was it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at you at this point.
Yeah, but
I'm seeing
maybe
somebody
it
going,
happened to me. It was a blessing in disguise, actually.
yeah.
I call it now my 6K tuition for my PhD, learning how to
There
publish.
you go. There you go. Wow, that's I guess when you think about a PhD, that's not that expensive. I think, I think in all reality, though, with my understanding of what you're doing now, I mean, it was a worthwhile investment because, not only have you published more books, for yourself, but you've also helped other people, with publishing their books, and you're steering them away from, those poor investments, and you're helping them make the right investments and to actually get the authority and that sort of thing that they're looking for. So, I thank you on behalf of all the authors out there that get a chance to work.
Thanks. Yeah, so look at the way I see it. When you want to publish a book, it's not about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them, the readers. And I think now, because you asked me also my definition of success and failure, when we want to be the hero, we are doomed to fail. But when
Interesting. Tell
we
me more
have
about that.
our audience, the heroes, and we're the guide, man, this is where people will find value in what we're presenting to them. And this is where we start really to transform people's lives.
Tell me more about that. You said when we set out to be the hero, we're doomed to fail. Tell me more. Dig into that. Help me unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Because basically, let's talk about the nonfiction world. This is our area, okay? The nonfiction world. Every like coach, consultant, expert, they have their expertise.
Mm-hmm.
If you're writing a book to show up your expertise, so that the book becomes a sales brochure to what you do, nobody will be interested to flip to the second page. But if you're because the people, they see that you're self-promoting yourself, you're the
Yeah.
hero. But if people discovered through the book that you're listening to them, actually you research them, you listen to them, you understand them, you're just sharing with them their challenges in their own language, in their own
Yeah.
word, they're gonna nod their head. Yeah, this guy gets us. He listens to us. He feels us. And
Yeah.
then if you share your own story, you're vulnerable enough to tell them, I was in your position at a certain point of time.
Yeah.
And then if you show up as the guide, telling them you're the hero as the reader, I want to help you get out of that pit hole, and I'm going to guide you because I was before you in that pit hole. People will correlate to you. And in my discovery in all successful, books is that authors who put themselves as the guide and they make their reader feel that I am the one who's going to transform. I'm the one who's going to change. And I'm the one who's going to be a better person. Those are the guys who will get really a lot of attention from the readers, and they will follow them beyond the book, because the book actually, it's one of a communication media or vehicles, but you could nurture the relationship with your audience maybe outside of the book. So the book is the starting point. It's like the intro. It's like when you're getting engaged, you get to know the person. But then if they follow up with you on your social media, on your website, newsletter, you have conversations, and you nurture that relationship. This is when I tell the authors that we work with, the book enables you to get that authority and credibility. And it's not the product itself. The product actually is what's gonna happen after the book, which is selling your high ticket services. But you're selling the high ticket services not for the sake of selling them, because when you sell such a high ticket service, actually you're helping others. You're also the guide, but now working one-on-one with that hero.
So is that kind of your area? You work with authors and consultants that are focused on high ticket sales? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, because in the nonfiction world, each one has their own methodology, if they has their own story, and each one can make their impact in the world depending on their own experiences.
Yeah.
So usually our niche, which is our target audience, is ourselves when we were in that failure before that at one point of our
Oh,
lives. So, and when you reflect on that, we need to be frank with the authors, because authors always have the dream, I want to earn royalties from my book. And I tell them, I rarely have seen someone putting money in the bank because of royalties, because that's half of the equation actually. To get that
okay.
royalties, of course you're going to get royalties, but you're investing maybe more than the royalties to get that sales, to get promoted, to get discoverable, on all those platforms. So basically it's a net zero game. Maybe you're losing. Sometimes you call it a loss leader. Sometimes you're going to lose money. But if that book is positioning you to get speaking engagements, or to get a consultancy deal, or to get a coaching deal, which all of those are usually high ticket, could range anywhere from K to 25K, if not more. This is how a book now could transform lives, but also it helps you to monetize your services. So you monetize not from royalties, you monetize through the high ticket services that the book will help you to get positioned and credible, and give you the authority for people to believe that you could help them.
Hmm.
If
You
this
you know
makes
what
sense.
occurs to me? So what you had said was that we write the book essentially to the earlier versions of ourselves, based on our personal experience. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is that did I get that correct?
Yeah, because a lot of authors ask themselves the question, who's my niche? Who's my target audience?
Yeah.
And they start to do all the research on now with AI, on Claude and ChatGPT, and that. And I tell them, man, the answer is simple. It's under your nose. You are your niche when you were in your challenge. Now
That's
you managed
interesting.
to overcome your challenge, and now you're prepared to help the old version of you, which is your niche, navigate through those challenges and get out of it. As simple as that.
A lot of times when we start companies, I mean, we start companies based on ideally, we start companies based on a defined need in the marketplace, so we look at people that, have the interest and the ability and the willingness to pay us for our services, which may not look like the version of us, that, came through this journey. How do we rectify that to make sure that we are writing to the right audience, and then that does lead into that high ticket sale opportunity?
It all starts from my experience. Start to really research that audience. So let's suppose, in my case, I was a failed author, and now I'm helping authors, like specifically in the nonfiction world, to publish their book and then monetize their services. So,
Yeah.
but each one has their own industry and their own market. So what we have them do is, who's your target reader? And actually, your target reader should be your target customer when you build that consultancy business, let's call it for now.
Okay.
Okay. So now with all the tools we have under our hands, like the Google tools and the AI tools and the Amazon, there are some applications that can help you research all those tools.
Yeah.
We could read the market. We could read the market basically because people go on search engines like Google and YouTube and Amazon, and they search for something, they type in something. If we extract the data and quantify the data, we would have some numbers telling us the biggest pain points that this target audience are facing. So basically think of it like this. What's waking them up at 2 a.m. in the morning? If you could answer that, now you could present a solution. Otherwise, you're creating a product, going back to your question, that you didn't research if that product is a solution to a real problem. And if you just launch it, most probably it's going to be noise in the world and nobody will really be willing to purchase it. But if it's it's addressing a problem, if it's a solution for that problem, basically everybody would be willing to investigate it further, to try it out, to have a conversation with you, because you nailed the challenge, you understood them, and you presented to them a way to get out of that challenge. And now they're willing to have a conversation with you.
Mm-hmm. It sounds to me like, and I don't know if you position this with your audience this way, but I mean, it sounds to me no different than starting a business. So I'm going to look for, I'm going to look for a problem or I'm going to look for a target audience. I don't know. We look for a target audience. You look at, match between, my skills and ability and, what an audience could potentially need. I create a product for that. I push it, I market it, I get it out to that audience. My ideal is to make money doing that, or at the very least, at the beginning, try to have a plan towards breaking even. And so I say that from my perspective. I mean, but what is the journey that you take your authors on?
So going back to what you just said, to find the target audience, we don't need to find it because, as I told you, our target audience was the old version of us. So if we understand how do we define ourselves when we were in that challenge, we know who they are now.
Right.
So once you identify that, and because if you develop a system or a workflow or whatever, a way to get out of that challenge, and it's working for you, and you tested that out on a couple of other people who are like you, and you know it works, you could present that through a book, okay? But now to get their attention, you need to have the right, we call them hooks, the right hooks within the book, within the listing of the book, actually, all those landing pages, to explain to them that this is your problem. And now if you hook them up with the problem and they understand, you read them, they're going to give you their attention. Wow, because that's what's on their mind. If it's on their mind 2 a.m. in the morning, it's going to be on their mind throughout the day, actually.
Yeah.
If you use the same language, the same terminology, the same words, they're going to get attention because this is what's bothering them now. And if they see that you were in their shoes at one point of time, they're going to believe more of you. So you have to be vulnerable enough to show them that you failed, actually, because, and they will believe that this guy is only a few steps ahead of us. He managed to get out of that. Let him or let her help me. So this for me becomes the least, when you launch a product, usually there is some friction for people why to check it out and believe you. But if you develop a product for them, it becomes easier for them to digest on it and to believe in you.
Right. I like that. I like that. So we kind of codify the development of the actual the writing of the book. We're authentic. We're transparent where we need to be. We actually provide value. We're providing an excellent solution or a solution for them. I think where we drop off sometimes as authors is actually that perhaps that go to market, that next step. And there's different approaches to that. So you talk about it in terms of, okay, we're using this book to provide the authority so that we can sell, a higher dollar item. How do we launch from that? Okay, we've got a book that's on Amazon that's selling, or that's available, I should say, on Amazon, to, okay, where, people are buying the book, people are picking the book up. How does that piece of it work?
Sure. So basically, to go a step backward and then go back to zoom in here, the system I developed and I discovered through my research boils down to 3 main pillars. It's like a tripod. If one of those legs is broken, the whole thing will never be sustainable, which is publish, which is step 1 we spoke about.
Yeah.
Step 2 is promote. And step 3 is impact/monetize.
Okay.
Let's talk about the promote, which is your question now, okay?
Sure.
Once our book is out there, we set it up for success. So if we use the same, if we did the research and we made sure that we're presenting a solution and we use the right keyword, the SEO, blah, 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 we're sure it's discoverable, but still we need to promote it. Now, what happens here as a mistake I always see authors doing, they bore people out. And I used to be one of those, by the way, when I published my first book and I go on social media and that's my book and that's my book and that's my book. And people will, okay, the first time they will give you bravo, well done, beautiful, love, lights, whatever. The next time it's going to be pain in the neck. Come on, man. We had enough of you. Okay. So I take that the different route. I take it is, in a way, we start promoting the author platform, which is the author personal brand, before we promote the book.
Okay.
So think of it, the stronger the author platform, the easier it is to sell books. But the more books it sells, the author platform and brand, personal brand will improve. The more it improves, it's going to sell more books. It's like slapping that ladder.
Yeah.
Each one will feed into the other. So how do we work on that author authority or the author platform? Basically, it's about getting, I call that borrowing authority in a way. Rick, are you still with me? You're frozen, yeah?
You're fine. Just keep going.
Yeah. So it's about, I'll call that borrowing authority. For example, let's imagine today, I am a guest in your podcast. At your podcast, you have your own audience, your own fans. People trust you. Your fan and your audience trusts you. So they're going to think now, if that guy or that lady is being a guest on Rick's show, that means Rick trusts that person. So automatically we're borrowing the trust of that host now, and we're leveraging the network because they have their own audience. We're going to be in front of a new audience. And if we really transform them, manage to really add value on that show, people will be encouraged to check us out, at least on social media, our website, maybe our new free book or whatever. So that's what we call leverage. We're leveraging other people's network, but also borrowing the authority from them. Second thing is on developing the author platform is about, getting nominated for literary awards. Like I'm 55 years old now. I go watch a movie trailer. Most of the times there are new authors, new actors. Sorry, I don't know them. If I watch the trailer and the trailer tells me that's an award nominee actor or movie, automatically the friction is less. I'm going to put 2 hours of my time and watch the movie. The same thing applies for a book. New author, new book, nobody knows them. If they are award nominated, this lowers the friction. They're going to invest 6 hours of their time to read your book. So it's not about the price of the book. It's about the time they're going to invest with you. But now imagine you're being on a podcast, not one here and one there, really regularly being on podcasts, then getting nominated. And then the third thing is about the third pillar in promoting the author brand is about each one of us in their own circle. They are connected to thought leaders in their own market or their own industry. And we need to leverage that. Imagine now gifting them copies of our book, asking them for a book blurb. But that book blurb becomes a kind of an endorsement from those thought leaders about us and our book. Those are low-hanging fruits that really could help us build all that authority and author platform. And did you notice I haven't spoken about book promotion yet? It's all about the author. Then once you have doing all of that, now of course you could do some speaking engagements, even if it's for free in the beginning, because you need to show up there. You need to start positioning yourself as the authority. So we need to do all those kind of things so that the moment we start promoting the book, people started to notice us because we've been on podcasts. We're getting nominated. People are speaking about us. We're getting on certain events as speakers, tend to know about us, and it becomes easier to sell those copies because we're going to run some ads on Amazon. We're going to do some book promotion sites and all that stuff. But now on a stronger platform, not on a weak foundation.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It actually takes me back to what you originally said about your original investment. Where Penguin was saying, "Hey, you're not Robert Kiyosaki. You don't have 100,000. You don't have 1 million followers."
Yeah, they told me, "Who the hell are you?"
Engineer that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That makes complete sense. That makes complete sense. And I mean, even as a podcast host, I can certainly see that. I put out hundreds of videos, but it's I recognize that there's some authority to that, but I also recognize that could be broadened, in the same way that you would do that with an author. I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So we talked about the building the author authority. when do we get to the point where we're actually promoting the book, and what sorts of things do we do? So let me back up from that. So my expectation is that, once this book is live, we built some authority, we go on a book tour. Is that what we do at this point, or is there a different strategy, a different approach that you take?
Yes, sure. So first of all, let me do a quick answer and then we go into the steps. Yeah. A lot of people out there believe, because I think they were misled by the industry, that you could be, a best-selling author in 1 week or on the launch or whatever. That's I mean, you could do that, but it will not get you any benefit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's not about being a best-selling author or whatever, because it's really about growing organically with your personal brand, so that eventually you become discoverable. And you're planting many seeds. You're planting all those seeds. The more seeds you plant, the more people start talking about you. So it's a journey
Hmm.
against those that you have a peak, the launch day, you get the bestseller, and then you disappear on a roller coaster. Okay. So
Yeah.
what do you do? So we spoke about building the author platform. Now let's talk about book promotion. So number one thing, in my opinion, we need to be where the audience is hanging out. So if we look at Amazon, Amazon is the market leader as a book retailer.
Right.
But Amazon is more than a book retailer. It's a search engine like Google, actually. And it allows us as authors or sellers as to advertise our products on their platform. So when I say advertise, it's not a banner or whatever. Basically, we're telling Amazon, if somebody searches for that phrase or that keyword, which is the challenge of our target audience,
Hmm.
paying Amazon to show up my book for
Hmm.
that search results. Now, if it shows my book and it converts into sales, Amazon is going to show more of my book for
Hmm.
future uh, search inquiries at a lower bid.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we keep on doing that. The more we convert, the more we're going to dominate those search terms, so that over time, our bidding becomes so low, or even we don't need to bid for those keywords, because we kind of dominated them over time, because we proved to the algorithm that
Hmm.
we are converting for those search inquiries. But more than that, whoever is reading the book is happy because we're getting all the positive customer reviews, because it's all about the user experience. So when Amazon sees you're converting and you're having positive customer reviews, the social proof, they're going to show more and more and more of your book. This is the way to leverage the algorithm. Now, of
Mm.
course, there are some other book promotion sites. There are hundreds of them, and only less than 5% are credible enough to really get you results. We
Okay.
burned a lot of money here and there to just know what works and what doesn't work. So we need to leverage those. So actually, look at them as like also borrowing their email list. So they have their email subscribers, and they kind of categorize their email subscribers into categories like nonfiction, fiction, or business books or whatever. And you could ask them to promote that book for you as the author, and they're gonna communicate it to that category of their email list. And now you're leveraging other people's network as well
Mm.
to promote those books. Now, the book tour and stuff, of course, but this is something, will it make it or break it? No.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
do that for the visibility, because just the book tour, by the way, will get you a lot of footage that you could use now on your social platforms,
Yeah.
that you're active, you're doing this. It gets you visibility in a way, but it's not what's going to move the needle. So I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of authors do the book tours alone, and they don't get results. They get
Yeah.
the loves and the likes and the claps, but they don't
Yeah.
get the results they wanted. So you need to do the
Right.
foundation right, and everything you do is nice to have. It's cherry on the top. It helps a bit, but it's not what's going to move the whole thing.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. I've really been trying to reconcile that. It's like, you put I interview a lot of authors, and, I wonder, it's like you put the time and effort into doing all the interviews and, speaking engagements and that sort of thing. And it's like, how do you really do this in a way? And it's really interesting as I'm thinking about this. So I think about it in terms of, we invest the time, we're going to produce some results. You know, there's an ROI conversation, but I think that, as you've alluded to, that ROI needs to be measured over time. You know what I'm saying? So we do the book tour, but we do it in a way, it's kind of a question, but we do it in a way where we're still responsible with our time, and we look at our ROI from 2 to 3 years out, rather than saying, okay, I want to be a number one seller on New York Times bestseller, within this year or something like that. Is that kind of what you're alluding to? Do I have that
Yeah.
correct?
And I think the chase should not be about being a bestseller or no.
Okay.
I mean, it helps. It
What
helps to
should it
be a
be
bestseller.
about?
It's nice to have, but it's not what's going to make you monetize or no. Let me give you a few examples. Yeah. We have among our authors, we have an author who sells less than 100 copies of their book a month.
Okay.
Okay. So it's nothing major here. Okay? But the conversion rate from whoever is reading the book to their website is around 17%. So 17 persons will go to their website and will register to a certain assessment or whatever, which gets them on the call with the author. Remember, the author is selling a high ticket service.
Okay.
Because of those few book sales, and this is what they want to invest because this is their strategy, they got an incremental business of more than 500 a year coming only from leads from the book. So it's not about making it, I want to be in your time bestseller and sell 10,000 copies in a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about even if 50 copies or 100 copies could get you enough substantial business on your high ticket services.
Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course, we have
Yeah.
authors who are making more than actually millions a year. And we have authors who are barely making 100K. So I'm not telling that each author will be successful in what they do because it's a combination. The book will help you to show up there. But
Yeah.
if your services are not solid and do not make changes, nobody will become a recurring client with you. They could try you once, you fail them, and that's it. So it's all about, it's a whole package. You need to have something solid before the book.
Wow, wow, wow. That makes total sense. That makes total sense. If we miss on one part of this, then you talked about the three-legged stool. If we miss on one piece of this, then we're not going to be successful. I think one of the areas that is kind of that black box is actually what that conversion is going to look like. So we've got the book. We've figured out what the content needs to be. For our target audience. We're talking about it in the marketplace, but really getting people to move from the book to the website. As you used in your last example, how do we develop that? Because I mean, there's lots of assessments out there. I can go to 100 websites and find 20 or 30 assessments out there for different topics. What's going to make someone move from the book to the website, and then the website to actually
I love that.
becoming a client?
I love that. Okay, let's imagine this is my coffee. Think of this is a trust tank. Okay,
Okay.
when someone reads your book and stays hours with you on the book, the trust tank is getting filled by a bit.
Yeah.
The tip
Yeah.
of the trust tank is what they convert, but the book will only get them filled up till here. You need now to nurture that relationship. So within the book, if remember we talk about nonfiction, when you say the story or case studies of some clients, etc., and you know strategically when the emotions are high, when the pain is high in a way, you tell them that I have a tool for you to assess, as an example, where you are, or I have a
Hmm.
workbook for you, or I have a free course for you, or whatever, or a one-on-one conversation. Each author
Hmm.
has their own stuff. We need to understand that, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, when you give them something unexpected, they purchase the book for $20.
Hmm.
Out of the book, you give them another tool, an assessment for free, or a workbook for free, or whatever. The trust tag now gets filled up more
Yeah.
because it was unexpected. It's more value, and they didn't pay for it.
Okay.
Now, if that assessment really helped them clarify their own situation, let's call it, and out of that assessment, you invited them for a conversation. And when I say conversation, I don't mean that you go and sell them something. No, conversation means you're the guide and they're the hero. I always tell our authors, and I do that myself, we never go on a conversation to sell anything. On those conversations, we're helping out. That's it, full stop. So now, if
Yeah.
you just help them out, the trust tank now, wow, it's getting filled up. This guy is weird. Like usually when I go on a call with someone or a webinar, they want to send me something. Those guys didn't ask for business. So the trust tank gets filled up. Now, when they get on a call with you and when they downloaded your free stuff, you get their email, the leads, the contacts. Now you're going to nurture that relationship. You're going to send them maybe your newsletter. And each newsletter, each whatever, maybe a podcast episode, maybe a blog, maybe whatever, it should always be about value, not selling them, not trying to sell anything, no upsell, no downsell, no shit, nothing.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah. Yeah.
adding value. But guess what? When they see you always adding, now the trust tank is really filled up.
Yeah.
Whenever they're ready, and trust me, it happens always like this, they're gonna come to you. You're gonna be at their top of mind. This guy never asked for business, has been always there for us. They help us, navigate our journey. Whenever we're ready emotionally, energy level, time level, and money-wise level to invest, we're gonna be top of mind. They're gonna come to us and the conversation will change. There will not be anymore, hey, Rick, tell me about you and prove to me the case studies and I want to make sure that I'm moderate. No, they already know all that thing about you. The conversation will change. Rick, with you for the last 6 months on that journey from the pool, I got on a conversation with you. We did the assessment. We did this. We did that. I'm ready, man. How can you help me?
Yeah.
And the whole conversation changes here.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. I love the trust bank analogy. That's really on point. I was thinking about a book that an author I bumped into, saw a video on YouTube. He didn't try to sell his book, which I thought was brilliant, and I watched the whole video and the video was interesting. It created a lot of value for me. And then towards the end of the video, he says, yes, in my book, I was like, book, what book? And I went in the show notes and I'm just like, oh, wow, this guy's got a book. And I went and I bought the book, right away. And it's rare, that I would do that, but I think that it follows your methodology. And the interesting thing is that he had a mentor and I also read his mentor's book. So I'm actually reading his mentor's book now, from the same thing. Now, had he had a high ticket sales item, I don't know. I mean, I may have purchased it. And I'm just saying all that to say that I really understand. I really think that that's a great approach. I think that's a brilliant approach. Tell me something though. What are some pitfalls? What are some things that authors run into that kind of sideline the work, all of this work? They've identified the market. They're creating the book, based on that earlier version of themselves. They're doing this, the self promotion as an author, creating authority. They're doing the promotion of the book. They've got their high ticket sales. What are some things that can go wrong? What can make it? Yeah.
Actually, there are many pitfalls. I want to mention a few of them. We spoke about the hero and the guide. If you're the hero, you're dead. You should be the guide. Remember that. Number two is if you write about what you know best, which is perfectly fine, of course, but with disregarding what your audience wants to learn about, you're also dead. So every content should start with the audience. So that's very important. Number three is if the ambition of the book is to sell your ego, like vanity stuff, it won't happen. It should be always about them. It should be really that you should add value to them through the book. So actually the book by itself, without needing your services, should move the needle. For example, in my book, Publish, Promote, Monetize, which I'll offer to your audience at the end of today's episode, if somebody goes through it, they don't need us. We're not trying to sell anything. They could follow all the steps if they have the time, the energy, and the commitment to do it, and they don't need anyone to help them. They could do it on their own. But most of the times, people don't have time for that because what they do best is selling their services. I'm a consultant, I'm an expert, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
But if you help them understand how it goes, actually, when they become your client, they're going to be the best clients in the world because they were already pre-educated about your methodology. It's going to be fun to have this kind of relationship. They're going to become the best clients, actually. They're going to appreciate what you do. And maybe the last lesson would be don't chase royalties. So your book is not the product. Your business is the product. What you sell as a consultant, as a coach is the product. And the book or being a guest on a podcast or, showing up here and there, those are tools to help you build that trust tank we spoke about earlier so that you could sell your high ticket services.
Interesting. I wonder if there are authors out there, that perhaps go in with that intention and then just love because I imagine, this whole process changes an individual. so they were a consultant, for example. I was a business consultant for 20 years, a consultant, and then, they get into authorship, and they're doing the speaking engagements and they're doing the book tour and they're doing all these things. And suddenly it's just like, you know what? I just want to be that public figure now. I just want to sell books. That's all I want to do. I mean, do you see that happening?
Look, it happens, but remember, if they're doing speaking engagements, actually they're monetizing there as a public speaker. They get paid for that.
Right. Exactly.
But then they're not going to tell you I'm monetizing my public speaking. No, they tell you that I want to make impact. Actually, that's a good observation. We
Yeah.
have some authors who are multimillionaires. They don't need to monetize. But when you speak to them, they're business people as well. They tell you, I don't need the money from my pocket, but I need that stuff to monetize so that I can make more impact. It's
Right.
self-sustaining in a way. I'm willing to
Right.
reinvest all that money into that funnels and whatever so that I make more impact in the world. But there should be a monetization process, even if you don't want the money for yourself, at least to get reinvested in reaching more people out. And this is how, you scale your impact in a way.
Yeah. 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 That's brilliant. I think about it, kind of along the lines of, just kind of like refunding that lifestyle, so it's just like I do the speaking engagement so I can continue to write and do more speaking engagements or, whatever that looks like. Good stuff. Tell me something. So, you have a giveaway for our audience. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so basically, earlier this year, actually around March this year, somebody from my team asked me a question. They told me, okay, sometimes people can't afford our services. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they can't be on board. But because I failed and my mission became to really help people out, let's do something about that. And then we told them, yes, what we're doing is publish, promote, monetize. As simple as that. I did the research because on my target audience, publish, promote, monetize are strong keywords. We're already using them in that business because we did our research also even before the
Mhm.
business. And we built that book. And I made it on a promise to myself that I want to make impact when I'm not in the room. I want to make
Mhm.
impact when I'm not talking to them on a call. Meaning to say they don't need our services if they follow all of that. And then my other part of the team thought I'm crazy. How do you do that? This is literally make a close business. And guess what? The more value you add, the more you help for free. If they don't become your clients, they're gonna be your best brand ambassadors in the world, and they're gonna tell
Yeah.
other people. We get a lot of referrals from people we don't know because I told them they read your book and they told us about you.
Yeah.
Trust me on that. So, and then for those who read the book and they think they don't have the time for it, when they come to us, they pre-sold. And as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be fun to work with them because they know what we're going to be doing for them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for those who have the time, let them do it, and they have to do it. They're going to thank us, and the universe will pay it back to us in different ways. It's as simple as that. So I have this book called Publish, Promote, Monetize. I really recommend everybody to read it. They can get it, they could download a free copy of it from
Okay.
authority-publishing.com
Okay.
/book-ppm.
Awesome. Awesome. And what I'll do is I'll put a copy of that link in your show notes. So anybody that
Perfect.
sees it on YouTube, Spotify, or, on our website, they can download it as well. So my favorite question of the day, drum roll, please. I need to get one of those drum roll like music things.
Love that. Love
Name of the show obviously is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast.
that.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, winning, in general is something that, we should all be able to define for ourselves, whether it's, being able to, get to the corner by the time the kids get off the bus, whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hard thing sometimes is maintaining that relentless pursuit, doing the things that we need to do every single day or on whatever basis to make sure that we're moving towards that win. So my question for you is, what would you recommend to someone to help them maintain that relentless pursuit?
I think if you've developed that expertise and know-how throughout the years, don't keep that trapped inside your head. Organize it. Actually, when writing the book, you mentioned it's going to change the person. When you write the book, you're going to get organized with your thoughts. Organize it, share it, package it. Speaking monetization, it could be through a book, could be through a framework, could be through a course, could be through intellectual property, through a podcast, but do that, share it with the world. Create something that really has value, that really helps others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about selling, it's about helping others, it's about creating value, it's about, helping, guiding those heroes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, I believe that our knowledge has the chance to outlive us because we're
Mm.
here for a certain part, for a number of years in our life. But
Yeah.
what we produce, a podcast, a book, all that content will outlive us and will keep our footprint in the world and really it's helping others to benefit from our experiences and, and get ahead in their lives. So please don't keep it to yourself.
Okay. Okay. I like that. What I took from that was, and not keeping it to ourselves, but looking at it from that long term perspective. What is that legacy? What am I leaving behind me?
Exactly.
And just continuing to work towards that.
Exactly. And we humans, this is how we have been developing. We wouldn't have arrived to whatever, all the technology we developed this if we didn't count on the guy who created the light bulb and the guy who created the telephone and then the electricity, we build
Yeah,
on that and we need that. So this is like leaving your footprint and let the next generation build on the person after you, build on your experience and maybe go to the next level and things will grow. This is how we all grow in that universe.
I love that. I love that. It's the human experience. You just described the human experience. The evolution. I don't think that we always think about it from that perspective. What are we contributing today? That's going to impact lives tomorrow, and that's so important. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Ashay, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been enjoyable. I mean, I think our conversation was just fantastic. But it's been educational for me. I see a different perspective, on the publishing journey, and I think one of the things that stood out to me most was just that building that author authority. Building that authority platform, even for myself. As a podcast host, it's like I can get out there more. So I was kind of niggling around. It's like what kinds of things, what kind of topics can I talk about? So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
No, I really appreciate that. I enjoyed really like the conversation with you. It's I love the way you ask questions, the way you dive deep into the topics. And actually, you're also helping me when I'm answering those questions. I'm getting reorganized and actually every time I show up on a podcast, I perfect my message even more and more. And this is how we evolve, even within our own knowledge. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. And folks, I want to thank you for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We'll catch you next time.